Hey there, happy Wednesday. I'm recording this Wednesday early evening, and there is a lot of active, dynamic energy in the current that I wanted to share with you. This is a week we are building towards a full moon in Aquarius, which will happen Monday morning. Um, but we have a lot of dynamic energies, planets meeting together in the sky and forming patterns and conversations that are full of uh, fire and air, the element planets. So we've got a lot of potential for creativity, passion, excitement, choices, um, expansive ideas, uh, determined expressiveness, could be very assertive or even aggressive expression, communication, opinions. So there's a lot that's kind of stirred up in the fire and air elements are yang, so they're outward expressing energies. And I'm curious what your energy's like this evening. Um, I've been feeling lower energy the last few days, but today, this afternoon especially, feel enlivened. And what we have going on in the sky, the moon is in the sign of Sagittarius, which often feels optimistic, fun, expansive, as it's an energy, a fire sign moon ruled by Jupiter. But Jupiter is active today. So planet Jupiter and planet Mars came together just about a half an hour ago in their exact connection. And Jupiter and Mars together. So Mars is the planet that provokes and activates. It's our dynamic motivation, um, activating energy. Mars wants to do, go, push forward. In the sign of Gemini, this is making Gemini energy even more active. That's curiosity and wonder and a desire to experience things and ask questions and socialize and play and flirt and be communicative. There's a lot of mental energy in the sign of Gemini and the other air signs of Libra and Aquarius as well. But Gemini is very much that curious, mental agility, asking lots of questions, experimenting, trying on new ideas, that kind of energy. So Mars is activating that already, bringing more energy there, having our actions be connected to ideas and communication and that kind of variety seeking energy. Planet Jupiter has been in Gemini for several months and will be there for about a year total. Jupiter is what we're learning, where our opportunities and expansion, the good luck, what's possible. Jupiter says what's possible shows our growth, but also what we believe in, like how we're growing in our beliefs and our faith, and um, but really connecting to opportunity, abundance, um, what's possible, asked Jupiter. So with Mars and Jupiter coming together, there's an expansion of that really direct Mars energy, and there's an activation of the really Jupiterian optimism and expansion. And this feels a lot like becoming more aware of all of the possibilities and choices we have and feeling driven or motivated, Mars energy, to choose, to make new choices, to try something, to experiment. And so that energy can feel really enlivening. It can feel also, it's in the sign Gemini, ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is active, is retrograde currently, and Mercury just switched signs. It just backed up from Virgo back into Leo. So there's just been a shift sort of in the radio station of our minds from Virgo, which is very practical and specific, concerned with details and reviewing all like, how's this working? It's backed up into Leo, where the concern is more about the creativity, the passion, the stories we're telling ourselves, the what's true to us on a heart level, and having a review of that. So for the next week, about till the 28th, a little beyond the 28th, because it's retrograde, well, then in forward motion, which it turns on the 28th. It'll still be in Leo for another week after that, I think. But while Mercury is traveling in Leo, it's a great time to reflect on the stories that we tell ourselves and what feel true to our hearts. Are we communicating from our heart center? Are we communicating from the truth of who we are currently? Leo's very much about authenticity and personal expression. That's current. Okay. So this Mercury, newly back in Leo, is the ruling planet of that Mars Jupiter meetup in Gemini. And so there's sort of a connection there between the Gemini and the Leo energy. The sun currently in Leo and is at about, what was I? I lost my train of thought. Our sun is in Leo, and our sun is in approximately a 60-degree conversation with the Mars. There's an ally kind of energy. They're like supporting one another, as fire and air do, right? Fire needs air, and the air or fire speeds up the air molecules. So there's a compatibility, I want to say, between Gemini and Leo. And the common thread is a playfulness and a, kind of experimental, let's give it a shot. Very childlike energy. Both of them can be childlike energies. So that's a real dynamism in the sky. So sun is currently Leo, moon is currently Sagittarius, fire. And then in Aries, the third fire sign, we have Chiron, the wounded healer. And so right now we have 3 planets in the fire signs, all communicating really smoothly with one another. Sun, moon, Chiron. And this is short-lived because the moon moves so quickly. But this next couple of hours will feel this opportunity with fire to be inspired around our conscious awareness, our subconscious emotional sense of our healing, of what is that healing Chiron energy around our sense of self, Aries, around our drive and our risk-taking self, that go for it energy that the Aries archetype holds. So this can be a very healing evening. It's evening where I am in Pacific time, almost 6 o'clock. The Mars and Jupiter in Gemini is making a pattern that's going to perfect over the next few days. So they're together in Gemini, and they're both 90 degrees to planet Saturn in Pisces and planet Venus in Virgo. So Saturn and Virgo are coming into opposition with one another. And that's any planet that's opposite to Saturn in a chart is like, it's got the blinders on it, like Saturn's rings, and it's like Saturn matures. Saturn demands responsibility and maturity and being serious about things. And so Venus, the planet of relating and of valuing things, of appreciating beauty and relationship and pleasure, is having that pressure of like, yeah, can we take that seriously? How committed are we to the things that we love or that we're attracted to or that we value? And Venus in Virgo wants to get specific with that. What are the practical ways of showing that we care or that something's important to us? And Saturn in Pisces is, I've talked about this some all year. Saturn in Pisces is a surrendering and a trusting the energy, trusting our emotional and intuitive and spiritual self. And so to me, this Pisces Virgo conversation is about devotion. Like what's important to us and how are we taking action? How are we applying ourselves to what's important, I would say. And they're both challenged by that Mars and Jupiter, that expansive energy of choosing, of taking action. So it does feel like an important energy today and into tomorrow, really, with this moon Sagittarius feeling of questioning what we believe and what are the choices we're making about how we're living our lives in alignment with who we really are and with what's important to us. And these are questions that I work with a lot myself all the time. The questions that as a coach I've worked with my clients with for the last 25 years are values and who are you and what's important. But the astrology, the planets are really supporting these inquiries for all of us right now. Um, and it can show up a number of ways. So think about the sort of aggression, assertiveness of Mars in Gemini around words and language, and that expanded by Jupiter. This can be over the top communication or over the top accusations or over the top social media posts or news conferences or I mean, I have been hearing and seeing a lot online. I've been actually plugging in with news sources and I'm feeling quite overwhelmed with it. And that's a lot feeling like, oh, there's a lot being communicated. And this Saturn and Venus with Pisces Virgo, it could be a really good time to limit that exposure, step back, and be really discerning with what you read or what you express yourself through social media or conversations. So that's kind of in the air as well. We are building up to a full moon on Monday. And that full moon is also in this T square pattern. So every full moon is an opposition of the sun and the moon. We have that going on. But this full moon, sun in Leo, moon in Aquarius, both of them are square to planet Uranus in Taurus. And Uranus is that planet of uncertainty, of surprise, of sudden change, of unpredictability. And it's an awakening energy. And so any full moon can reveal to us something we hadn't seen fully before, reflecting an emotional impression, the sun reflecting off of the moon. But this full moon has the potential to really be illuminating in a sudden and perhaps shocking way. What's something you really weren't aware of before? And from the light of Leo, from like your heart, yourself, out to the collective. What's something you'd see in the future in the collective that's represented by the Aquarius archetype? Uh, I think it's going to be a really dynamic rest of the week until the full moon with this, what we call a mutable T square of the Mars Jupiter squaring to Venus Saturn in Pisces and Virgo, and the T square being formed by the full moon with planet Uranus. Dynamic tensions and a lot that can change quickly. Wonderful conversation this afternoon with an astrologer I've worked with for years. And he was really talking about this time being potent for choices, for looking at the many perspectives and many options and making considered choices, making heartfelt choices to write a new story, to use that Mercury retrograde energy to consider what's true for me now. What does my creative heart want to write as my future? And I offer that to you too, with thanks to James Waterfall. That creativity, looking at lots of options, lots of creative materials and ideas, and making new choices, writing the stories of our lives. I'm feeling more optimistic about it. But know that this energy can feel big. It can feel big and fiery and fast moving because it's a lot of air and fire in the sky, which is very outward and young. And the way to help yourself balance that and ground it is to turn within, like kind of tune out from all of the outer stimuli if you can, and go within, but also into your body, into bodies of water, like cultivate relationship with the earth and the water elements of what does my body need? What do my senses tell me? And what am I feeling? Water element. And then physically, sitting on the earth, finding a boulder, sitting there, swimming, getting in rivers, lakes, pools, showers, bathtubs, and just really being in your body and um, grounding in through your senses. So I'm going to leave you there, but also want to invite you once again to the Patreon community Stars and Cards. And this is a small group at this point, really intimate, great conversations, exploring the current astrology and the guidance of tarot. I lead this group with Eiley Olichny, who's a Gestalt therapist and tarot reader, an all-around magical, intuitive person. Eiley is going through her first Saturn return. I'm going through my second Saturn return. We're both Leos. We're both Pisces rising. We connected around these things sometime last year. Wow, similar charts, 30 years apart. And we've been having a great creating this group over the course of the year. Invite you to join us on Sunday. We meet on Zoom 10 to 11:30 this Sunday, and we're going to be focusing on these energies I've talked about today and that Aquarius full moon, which is a culmination from the new moon we just had in Leo, yes, but also connected to the new moon in Aquarius that we have in February. So please join us. Join us as our guest your first time in the Patreon community. See what it's up, what it's like, and if it resonates for you. If you've come before, and I know many of you have visited before or started out with us in January and want to come back, join the Patreon group. And you'll be able to join us live, the 2 live calls a month and the in-between content that we create in the Patreon group. And it's, I think, a very supportive and nurturing container that we're creating, and would love to see you there and have conversation with you. All right, have a wonderful rest of your week. Build up to the full moon will probably feel intense. Just know that that's part of the weather report, the context here. Lots of ideas, lots of fast moving creativity and awareness, and treat yourself gently. Relax, sleep well, drink lots of water, touch the earth, get in bodies of water, all those good things. And I'll talk to you again next week. Have a good one. Bye.